All right, live. Make the lighting better. What is up, everybody? Happy Saturday to you. Happy Sabbath to those who observe. I have my Saturday Sabbath nap. It is my custom. And like I said, after my Sabbath nap, I feel rejuvenated. So I really didn't check into any of the news, political news like that, because it's just, I am going to look at that Beyonce thing. I guess Kamala Harris had a rally in Houston. Beyonce came out, Kelly came out. Kelly was dressed like a reject from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like a Oompa Loompa, a corporate Oompa Loompa. I'm not sure if that was what Kelly was going for, but she was definitely giving corporate Oompa Loompa from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Beyonce was looking good. Beyonce looked good. Let me go over and just kind of catch some of that. Like I said, I do my Sabbath nap. So this is my day of rest. It's the holy day. And so I try to check out from all the unholiness. I had this sister in one of my live streams. I think it was yesterday, maybe. And this lady, obviously, she doesn't know the Bible. She doesn't know anything. To me, the people who come with their passionate ignorance, they typically demonstrate that they're lacking information. Sometimes they're even intimidated by the person who is delivering the information. I get this sometimes with black women. And, I think sometimes some black women, they have this idea of what all black women should be like. And then when they meet a black woman that doesn't meet that mode, it's like perplexing for them. And obviously, I was very fortunate and I am very thankful to the black woman who adopted me because obviously I was able to become myself organically and naturally without all those constructs of blackness or black women. So 12 points for my mom. But anyways, let's look at this. Let me check this Kamala Houston rally for a second. Kamala. It was a star-studded rally. That's one thing you can say about Kamala Harris. She gonna bring out the celebrities. She needs the help. She needs the help. What you talking about, Beyonce? Looking good, looking just like your mama.
Please give a big, loud Texas welcome to the next president of the United States.
So she introduced. So they just played Beyonce's song. I think you know what how they got that crowd in. I think people were expecting for Beyonce to perform. I heard a couple of bloggers like we thought Beyonce was coming out to support Kamala. But I guess beggars can't be choosy. Beyonce did show up, right? They probably didn't pay her enough to do all that, right? And I think Beyonce is trying to kind of, I don't even know what Beyonce's doing because she's coming out at the last minute, right? Beyonce needed her country album to kind of play out before she started getting on the bandwagon of this political stuff because she's like, look, I'm trying to reach white America with my country album right now. So I can't be on the bandwagon of Democrats, Kamala, or anything because I have a whole demographic of people that I'm trying to reach with my country album, right? So Beyonce's coming out eighth hour to support Kamala Harris, and Kamala needs all the help that she can get. See, see, here's the thing. I don't even care for that song, right? But it's something about the funk of the song, right, that gets you moving. Like we talked about that foundational Black America Mojara. It's like when you hear a song like this, right? Even if you ain't all about the lyrics, but you hear the song, the song, the bass, all of that, right? You walking out of this song, right? You know, so if I'm coming out and I'm Kamala Harris, I need people to see who I am. I'm be like,
I'ma keep running cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
she ain't doing none of that shit. None of that shit. She just walking out. No fucking personality. I don't want to see this. Kelly Rowland looking like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Oompa Loompa. I don't know what the hell they did with Kelly. They was just Kelly was like, I'm gonna cause a lot of conversation at this rally. So I'm gonna dress like this because they keep putting me in the shadows of Beyonce. So I'm like, Kelly was like, I ain't gonna be in the shadows of Beyonce tonight. I'm gonna wear this ugly ass suit, fly hair, and then I'm gonna rock it. Kelly, that is an awful outfit. All right. Yep, she needed Destiny's Child, or at least Beyonce and Kelly to help her ass out because, it's not really looking good for Kamala. I don't think that crowd in Houston would have even been that big if Beyonce and Kelly wasn't there. But off of that, I want to talk about something really quickly, and I want to shout out Carlton Dennis. I created the world's largest home security company. All right. And, people often ask me, what's your political choice? What's this? What's this? And I make my decisions based off of different factors, mostly dealing with the economy. And so in this video, you got Carlton Dennis, and he's a tax professional. He does a great breakdown of the Trump and Harris tax plans. And I thought this was useful because, a lot of times people are asking for breakdowns of these economic policies, economic plans, what they plan to do. And I think that he has a great grasp on this conversation. So I wanted to walk through this video so that people can kind of understand, from at least a tax side, where these candidates are coming from. Me personally, I think that taxation is legal theft. I think that they've kind of freaked the tax code in a way that basically penalizes you for progressing in your life. And that's basically what it is. Every time you do better in life, they're going to figure out a way to tax you. And so it's just a creative short squeeze at this point of the American worker to keep them chained to the system, right? Owing the system, for their labors and their efforts, right? The government is going to find a way to short squeeze you. And a lot of times in these political cycles, a lot of times the administrations and what's going to happen to the economy, a lot of times it kind of boils down to taxes, right? Which party taxes the most? Which party is in love with creative taxes? So let's get into Carlton Dennis. And hopefully, after you kind of leave this segment of this blog, you'll feel a little bit more enlightened, which is all I'm trying to do with folks. Here we go.
Number one, capital gains taxes.
Hold on. Let's go to the very...
Today I'm going to break down the most important tax proposals
and shout out
that
to
Trump and Kamala
Carlton
Harris
Dennis.
have made.
He's
if you
on
want to know how the
YouTube.
presidential election could potentially impact your tax situation, this is going to be the video for you. Let's dive in.
And this brother is a tax professional, foundational Black American. Shout out Carlton Dennis. They always want to make us seem low IQ, but again, shout out to my fellow Blacks in financial services.
Tax issue number one, capital gains taxes. Kamala Harris has made several proposals regarding capital gains taxes. The first one is that she wants to tax unrealized capital gains, but for the wealthy.
Now, when I heard that, automatically, I'm like, it's not realized. Like the word says it in itself, what it is, right? It hasn't happened yet, right? But they're like, well, why don't we just get the money today, right? So then when it does happen, you don't have to, like, do you not worry about the tax? this is
The
unreal
way
that
that this
somebody
tax
has
would
this on
work
the
is that
table.
families with over 100 million of wealth would owe an annual wealth tax of up to 25% that would include tax on unrealized capital gains. If you don't know what an unrealized capital gain is, it's a hypothetical profit that you could potentially make one day when you sell a capital asset in the future. They're called unrealized gains because they don't actually exist yet. So if Kamala Harris becomes president, then yes, you could potentially owe taxes on fictional profits. Welcome to Fantasyland. This proposal would only start out applying to the ultra wealthy, but many tax proposals that start out only applying to the wealthy end up applying to more and more people over time.
Absolutely. They pilot it with the wealthy, they sell it as being for the wealthy, but eventually it trickles down into regular people so that they can short squeeze us. Again, Biden claimed that they weren't going to tax people over 400K, right? But I know a lot of people across income groups that actually owe taxes for 2023. So I don't even know what happened there, but apparently people are getting penalized and short squeezed all kinds of creative ways these days.
So don't think that your unrealized capital gains will never be taxed if you aren't ultra wealthy, because if they get this policy approved, they could very well one day move that policy from 100 million to a million. Kamala Harris also wants to raise the long-term capital gains rates from 20% to 28% for those making $1 million or more per year. As a part of this proposal, she would also raise the net investment income tax, or NIIT, from 3.8% to 5%. If this proposal became law, it would mean that the high earners would pay 33% on long-term capital gains, which would be the highest long-term capital gains tax rate since 1978 under the Jimmy Carter presidency. So, if you're someone who likes to invest in real estate, stocks, bonds,
Uh, when you're talking about making political decisions, right, these conversations matter depending on what you are doing in your life.
or cryptocurrency, there's a very good chance that you'll be forced to pay significantly higher capital gains tax rates if Kamala Harris is elected, and if you're somebody that's making over $1 million. Okay, what about Trump? What has Trump said about capital gains rates? So far, Trump has not made any major tax proposals for capital gains taxes, so we can assume that he plans to keep them the same as they are for now. This would mean that unrealized capital gains would not be taxed, and long-term capital gains would likely stay at 0, 15, and 20%.
So this is where Trump is really failing because he's being mad ambiguous about things like this as well, right? He's being ambiguous, and that doesn't sit right with me, right? Because if Kamala Harris is actually putting her shit on the table, we actually need to see if Trump is going to kind of stay with what he did before. Cool. At least let us know. Don't be ambiguous, bro.
Where they're at now. But tax issue number 2 is corporate taxes. Kamala Harris wants to raise corporate income taxes from 21%, where they are now, to 28%. This means that if you have a corporation, then you could soon have to fork over an extra 7% of your profits to Uncle Sam if Kamala Harris is elected. There have been a number of celebrities, including Mark Cuban, that have come out and said that Kamala Harris is pro-business. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Forcing business owners to fork over an additional 7% of their profits doesn't actually scream pro-business to me. In fact,
it depends on what's happening with those profits too, because we know that a lot of these corporations at the very, very top, there's a lot of greed and they're not trying to trickle down much of anything. So the government is like, shit, if you're not going to get that money to your people, then we're going to just short squeeze you out of that 7%. That's what I'm getting out of the Democrat logic because they're socialists in their mindset. So anything that they're going to do is going to be kind of with a socialist air to it. So if you're not going to do it for the people, boom, the
weighing
government's
business
going to take
owners
it from
down
you.
with more taxes kind of screams the opposite. Let me know in the comments what you think. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has proposed lowering the corporate income tax rates from 21% to 20% and even down to 15% for companies that make their products in the United States. Trump was also the one who pushed to lower the corporate tax rate down from 35% to 21% in the first place. This change became law in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, which was passed during his presidency. So if you own a business or if you're thinking of starting one, you could potentially get to keep more of your profits if Trump is elected and his policies pass. Let's go to tax issue number 3, individual income tax rates. It is important to note that the individual income tax cuts that were established through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2000.
You said Dave Ramsey on the accounting. Carlton's pretty cool. From a tax standpoint, he's definitely a decent channel to look at. I don't really make recommendations or anything like that for online advisors, just because it's just safer for you to get face to face with people that are handling things for you like that. But I think that he comes with a lot of intelligence in his perspective on things.
2017, they're set to expire in 2025. This means that unless Congress votes to extend them, individual income taxes are set to increase for everybody come 2025. Kamala Harris has announced that she does not plan to raise individual income taxes for people making less than $400,000 per year. However, she has expressed support for President Biden's fiscal year 2025 budget proposal, which proposes increasing the top individual tax rate from 37% to 39.6%. So there is a very good chance that Kamala could attempt to raise individual income taxes for high earners if she is elected.
And if they're doing it for the high earners, you better believe it's going to trickle down to us. I feel like they use the high earners as like the carrot, but really it's going to apply to everybody else eventually because they're short squeezing everybody.
The other hand wants to prevent the individual tax
you can only short squeeze the rich so much
from expiring. He wants to make them permanent so that tens and millions of Americans can continue to pay these lower tax rates that he established. Now here's tax issue number 4.
Right now is your last.
Oh, no, we don't do political ads over here. Poor Kamala. She look like a robot doing this little commercial right now. Asking for money.
Tips. Kamala Harris proposed eliminating taxes on tips for hospitality and service workers. This could potentially have a tremendous tax reducing effect for tipped workers. I mean, think about how many tipped workers there are in the United States. Trump also supports eliminating taxes on tips. And in fact, he was the first one to propose this idea, and Kamala Harris copied the idea and proposed it several weeks after Trump proposed it. So
I told y'all they gonna leech off of something that Trump did. His ideas can't be that bad because they leeching off of so many of his ideas. They're keeping so many of his ideas. Dude must have not had that bad of ideas. Like, see, what the Democrats like to do is take the great ideas that somebody else had, and they're like that person in the office, right? They're like that glory whore in the office where you have a good idea, but because they're like teacher's pet, right? You kind of tell. That's why you should never tell your ideas to people like this in the office. Just go straight to the boss, right? Especially if they're not your manager. Don't give your good ideas to these little idea leeches, right? Because they're going to take it and try to own it as their own. This is how Democrats are, right? They're not going to give this dude flowers or credit for what went well and what he did well. What they're going to do is just keep it, copy it, and try to say that they did it.
You happen to be a tipped worker, such as a busboy, maid, waiter, waitress, bartender, caddy. You know what I'm talking about. There's a very good chance that you could be saving a lot of money in taxes, regardless of who wins this election. If taxes on tips are eliminated, it could result in a sizable increase in demand for hospitality and service workers. It could also lead to changes in the way that employers decide to pay their employees, and some employers may choose to try to increase the portion of employee wages that come from tips compared to hourly pay from the employer. This could get interesting. Now, here's tax issue number 5, Social Security taxes. Kamala Harris has yet to announce any significant changes to Social Security taxes. Trump has announced that he wants to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. So, if you happen to be disabled or elderly, you qualify for Social Security benefits, then you could soon not have to pay any more taxes on your Social Security benefits if Trump is elected, and if this proposal becomes law. I never understood how we pay into Social Security and then later on in life, a percentage of our Social Security, depending on our income, is still taxed. It never made sense to me.
Because we got a bunch of freaking leeches in the government. They don't care how old, how struggling you are. They're freaking leeches. They're leeches. Like, I have never understood that myself. And it just tells you how greedy and disgusting that the people are who are leading the charge on some of these financial decisions in this country. You are taxing Social Security? Really?
Proposal. Here's tax issue number 6, overtime pay. Kamala Harris has yet to make any tax proposals related to overtime pay. Donald Trump has proposed eliminating taxes.
This is how a lot of the slaves lost the land that they did get with Kamala Harris,
and argued
the plantation owners, because a lot of plantation owners did leave their slaves land. They inherited land from these plantation owners, but then they started torrance taxing these people on fixed incomes, right? And it basically wiped them out of their land. They always got these colorful ways to short squeeze people out of their things. This is where people talk about Klaus Schwab and that whole "you will own nothing and be happy." This is what they've been doing for a while. They've been literally short squeezing people out of owning absolutely freaking nothing. It's so obvious now. It is so obvious to me that this whole World Economic Forum BS and people just now getting on what they've been talking about there and stuff. This stuff has been actually going down. We just were not aware that it was. People are being short squeezed out of their ownership.
That eliminating taxes on overtime pay could help to incentivize people to work for longer hours, which
That's why
would be beneficial to both themselves and to the companies that they work for. Love this one. Tax issue number 7, tariffs. Kamala Harris has mostly been critical of tariffs and that they are effectively a sales tax on American households. Trump, on the other hand, has proposed placing a 10 to 20% baseline tariff on all goods imported into America and 60% on all goods imported from China. Speaking about his tariffs policy, he said other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world, and the tariffs will be substantial. Trump has long been a proponent of tariffs, and he used them extensively during his presidency. Presumably, this is because they help to protect American companies, which are not subject to tariffs, and because they give him, as a president, more non-military negotiating power with other nations. This is key. In fact, Trump likes tariffs so much that he even reportedly floated the idea of replacing federal income taxes entirely with tariffs.
This man loves tariffs so much. He said that we need a PR firm for the word tariff, right? He said it gets a bad name. A lot of people, they have their opinions about tariffs, right? They're like, well, you're going to start a trade war. And if we start tariffing, then other nations are going to start tariffing. And it's like, at some point, things need to be sold. There is supply and demand. These are things that can be negotiated, but I think they should happen. Nowhere in the U.S. economy should there be a company selling goods on our land and there's zero tariffs in the equation. And if you really go back, I did a whole video on this, so don't freaking gum in my check. And do you even know what a tariff is? It's like, yes, I do. I did a whole freaking video on it. Check it out. But when you think about tariffs, again, I feel like Trump's policy when it comes to tariffs is really an aggressive walk back of NAFTA. That's really what it is to me when I look at what he's doing. He's walking back NAFTA aggressively, and he's inspiring these companies to produce on American land. So I'm not opposed to tariffs, and I don't care what anybody thinks about that. I'm just not opposed to them. nobody should be selling on this land without a tax. And that's just my opinion.
Tariffs. Tariffs provided a massive portion of the tax revenue in America before both the IRS and income taxes existed. Before I break down the last point, make sure you sign up for my tax-free wealth challenge if you want to learn how to cut your tax bill by 50%.
Okay, bro, I can't do no
deduction. Kamala Harris wants to increase the startup expense deduction from $5,000 to $50,000. This means that people who are forming a new business would be able to write off a larger amount of the costs that go into forming a business. At first glance, this might look like it's extremely beneficial for business owners. However, we have to keep in mind that she also wants to raise corporate taxes by 7%. So yes, this would make it easier for many people to start a business, but once your business becomes successful, Kamala will come for a huge percentage of your profits through corporate tax hikes. Trump has not.
That's what I'm saying. We get punished for progressing. It's like the tax system code is designed to punish people for progress, for making progress. That's where the whole mindset of the more money, the more problems come in. You know, that's basically what they're talking about, because the more money you make, the more problems you're going to have with these government leeches who likes to tax unrealized gains. Unrealized gains. This is unreal. Truly.
Made any tax proposals regarding startup expenses. Now, it's time to answer a question about Kamala's tax plan from a subscriber on my YouTube channel. This question was asked on one of my recent videos called Tax Expert Breaks Down Kamala Harris's Tax Plan video. If you haven't seen that one
check
yet,
out Carlton's
go click on that
channel,
video.
all right?
I broke that one down. It's pretty awesome.
Karlton Dennis, DENNIS, he's on YouTube.
Was, can you claim unrealized capital losses under this plan? And the answer is Kamala Harris has done very few interviews where she elaborates on her tax proposals in depth. But as far as we can tell right now, her wealth tax proposal only includes taxes on unrealized capital gains and does not include tax refunds or deductions for unrealized capital losses, which honestly seems a little unfair to me. Now,
yeah.
I know this election is coming up right around the corner, so I hope that this video will help to give you some more insight that can help you.
So I just wanted to share this video with you guys as well, because I think a lot of times people go through the whole fluff and the fervor, man versus woman, and she's a woman, and that's not why you want to vote for her. And again, there are people who do have legitimate reasons as to why they don't want to support Kamala Harris and the Democrats this time around. And, you know, when you're thinking about all of the inflation that we've dealt with in the last, almost 4 years, and just people feeling like they've been economically pressed, you have to sort of comb through some of these policies to understand how they would possibly continue to either economically press you or advantage you. So if you're a gig worker, it doesn't matter if Trump or Harris wins, you're going to win, because they both have the rhetoric of, eliminating taxes on tips, right? But how would that elimination of that trickle down into the pay? So there's all kinds of things that people need to consider as they're considering these candidates, beyond if they have a vagina or a penis, beyond if they're a construct of black or an idea of black or older white gentlemen. You got to be intelligent is what I'm saying. And like I said, don't let people punk you. Excuse me. My mouth is so dry. Talking too much, I guess. But don't let people punk you into a decision. And with that, let me just go grab my bottle of water really quickly. All right. With that being said, last part of this blog is just you guys hear me talk about passionately ignorant people all the time. And I think passionately ignorant people are people who they have a commitment to some idea, position, or whatnot, even if the position is irrational, because there's a herd of mentality of people who have it. They themselves are passionately ignorant. So I guess there's this trend on TikTok, and I don't have TikTok. My kids aren't allowed to have it either. But there's a trend on TikTok where you have these women who are going to the polls and they're saying that they are going to counter their husband's vote. And these women are basically, bragging about the fact that they're voting the opposite way of their husband. And then you got this other set of women who is saying, "What's wrong with you ladies? You don't you shouldn't just counter his vote. You should just full-blown divorce him." So let's listen to the passionate ignorance of today.
Women out here who keep posting on TikTok and are like, on my way to cancel out my husband's vote. Are you okay? Are you being held hostage? Because the way you couldn't waterboard it out of me that me and my husband are voting differently, not just differently, in this election, it's
Okay, and I'm just going to say, just giving personality and face, she is definitely the pants in the relationship. She is married, obviously, to a whole beta male.
differently. Like, sis, what are you doing? What are you doing? Divorce that man. Don't go cancel his vote. Go file those divorce papers. When I tell you, when I found out my ex-husband was a Trumpy-loving supporter, it was over. There was no chemistry. There was no nothing. We were done because not only did we just not get along, we had different moral values.
Yeah, she's a crazy chick, right? She's the weird chick in the relationship. He probably did himself a favor just going over to the Trump side. That was probably the best way to get. This is a great, if you want to get rid of your woman, your liberal woman, just become a diehard Trump supporter. That will get her ass right out the door real quick. She's telling you this is the sauce to get rid of her ass.
What are you doing? Divorce that man. Don't go cancel his vote. Go file those divorce papers. When I tell you, when I found out my ex-husband was a Trumpy-loving supporter, it was over. There was no chemistry. There was no nothing. We were done because not only did we just not get along, we had different moral values. How are you going to raise your kids like that? And for you to be on the internet making a little tee-hee ha-ha joke about it, I'm concerned. Are you being held hostage?
See, think about being married to a chick like this. Like, seriously, think about being married to a chick that is absolutely like this. This is not a commodity. She is going to irritate any man that dates her, marry her, regardless. Nothing that he's ever going to do is going to be right because she is a diehard feminist. And she's so horrible. She's telling women that don't just cancel your husband's vote out, go get a divorce. And I'm just looking at this woman.
Do you need help?
Just mediocre at best.
Negotiate on, but moral and ethics and what we're going to raise our kids' values on, that's not it.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
And shout out to Shizuzet for covering these irrational women. And he has a blog called Wives Are Divorcing Trump Supporting Husbands. And this is on his blog, The Coffee Pot. And you got these women, they're doing little videos, frolicking about like weirdos that they are canceling their husband's vote out. It's like, who is marrying these women? You just marry her for ass. It couldn't have been the personality. It couldn't have been the personality. And if it was the personality, I'm pretty sure that some of these guys, because I know a lot of guys with the savior complex, because they're all messed up with daddy's issues too. And so they love liberal chicks because they're always going to give them victim, right? Guys with the savior complex, they love liberal chicks. They're like their favorite because they're going to victimize themselves any way they can, no matter how hot they are. And they are the biggest freaks, some of them, right? And that's probably what kind of confuses a lot of guys because he get pussy whipped real quick, right? But then when he gets to know her ass, he sees the maniac, the emotional maniac that this woman is. Like, I look at these women, I look at their eyes, I look at how they carry on and stuff like that, and it's like you are driving any man crazy. You are annoying him every day with your irrational emotions about everything. These women are crazy. She's like, "Are you concerned? I'm concerned about you. Are you being held hostage?" Like, these feminist type women are crazy. What this brother saying?
What? Divorce? Digitally out. Nieces, sisters, any other women in your family. He's voting against all of y'all.
You even got a black man doing this.
Differing on tax policy or, immigration reform, prison reform, infrastructure. These are moral differences. J.D. Vance said the man's vote for the family should be enough, as in the women shouldn't get to vote. Those are your rights. The right to choose, abortion bans, this is your health care. He's actively voting against you. Let's make that clear.
This is the beta men on the liberal side. They're like, if your husband is voting for Trump, he is actively voting against you, right? He is actively voting for you, a married woman, to be able to have abortions, right? He's voting against that. I didn't think abortion was really on a lot of married women's minds, but this is a weird world, so maybe they are. I don't know.
Maybe leave them. Well, I'm not advocating for divorce.
See, this is the Democrats. The Democrats would rather, they're like, we will break up families for these political decisions. And this lady had the nerve to say, you can't be a godly person because you hate Democrats. It's like, absolutely, I can, because they're demonic. And God said to hate what is wicked. And anybody who has rhetoric to break up the family, you're wicked. You're a wicked person. You are a wicked person. Anybody who is encouraging wives to leave their husbands because their husbands are making a voting decision that is contrary to their own, you're a wicked ass person. And you deserve all the wickedness that you get in your life.
As long as you happy. As long as you happy. Listen.
So shout out to, is it She's a Zad Coffee Pot? This is crazy. And like I said, I can't wait for this political witching to be over because people just lose their damn minds during this cycle. I had one person jump in the chat. We were talking about this witching season, right? And how it divides people. And she was like, this is the most depressing time for me. And it's sad that this is where American politics has come down to, where it's just depressing people. Like, I'm more like, let's get this shit over. I'm not excited about none of this shit anymore. I just really am more excited for it all to be over. Pick the demon. Let's move on dealing with the consequences of whatever demon is selected. But this is a damn shame that people are breaking up their families because of these political choices. And a lot of times these people aren't even that educated on the political candidate of their choice to even be breaking up their families like that, right? If you ask a lot of these people, talk about something, I'm going to leave my husband or divorce your husband because he's voting for Trump. It's like, well, why are you voting for Kamala? Well, she's a woman and it's time. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. All right. But anyways, let me see. Don't worry about my nose ring. Worry about what's being said. some people can't comprehend, so they'll go and start saying some other stuff. But this is crazy. You are a wicked ass person. It's usually these little liberal Democrat rat face looking people sometimes that come over here with all their little passionate ignorance because all they got is ad hominem attacks. You're not gonna come over here to comprehend, to listen. You're not going to do that. We know that that's very hard for your emotions because that's what you're driven on. This is a logic based channel over here. So nothing that I say is illogical. I don't believe anything that I say is illogical because I'm always speaking on pattern facts of things as they are. You can live in clown cuckoo land or the land of unrealized gains and logic all you want to, right? But the proof is always in the pudding. And so we're talking about what's in the pudding. We're talking about how these candidates compare tax wise. We're talking about the irrationality of people who will break up relationships and their families for these political witchings. So, I'm sorry that cuts into your feelings, honey. I surely am sorry that cuts into your feelings. Maybe you should go to one of those liberal therapists that are going to coddle your problems for the rest of your life. You should do that, honey. But anyways, you guys, this is insane to me that people are willing to compromise their relationships. And you look at some of these women, again, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm looking at this girl's face. I'm looking at her face right now. We know why you crazy. We know why you crazy, right? You probably pussy whipped some dude into marrying your ass, and now he found out how crazy your ass is. That's pretty much what it is. Become a Trump supporter if you're trying to get rid of broads like this. That seems to be the secret sauce for a lot of these liberal women. If you support Trump, just go out and get a bunch of diehard mega stuff, turn your man cave into a mega man cave, and just irritate the fuck out of her until she leave. If these women are on stuff like that anyways, you might as well irritate her ass out the door. Have a little fun with it, since that's their conclusion anyways. You're going to vote for Trump, so I'm going to divorce you. All right, broad. Well, until you move out of the house, this whole damn house about to be mega. I'm going to put a big ass Donald Trump mural on this wall in the damn kitchen, so every time you wash the damn dishes, you're going to see big Donald J. Trump. Just irritate the fuck out of her until she leaves.
Done because not only do
this is how you get rid of broads like this. They're not loyal anyways. They're crazy.
We just not get along. We had different moral values.
No, it wasn't about moral values. It was about you guys had different emotional IQs. He was probably trying to be a little bit more sensible, and he was dealing with your emotional IQ.
How are you going to raise your kids like that? And for you to be on the internet making a little tee-hee ha-ha joke about it, I'm concerned. Are you being held hostage?
What man is bro, I'm concerned for the man that's married to this because he's not wearing the pants in his relationship. He's not doing anything right for her every day. And when she gets all crazy and emotional about everything, because these women, they women like this, they work in two ways. They're extremely crazy and bitchy, and then when you call them out and you're so frustrated, then they melt into being a victim, right? They're like, throw these rocks and then hide my hand and then be the victim. This is how women like this are.
Do you need help? There's a lot of things we can negotiate on, but more.
She's saying that these women need help, but I'm looking in her eyes, right? It's always about those wandering eyes, right? When women are talking and they're just doing all this extra shit, there's crazy inside. There's crazy inside. She would probably bang you out of the world. But then when you come to your senses, you're like, it's a crazy bitch. That's what some of these liberal women are giving with these little, I canceled my husband's vote. And they're like, no, honey, you need to do more than cancel your husband's vote for voting for Trump. You need to divorce him. Wickedness. I'm telling you, these liberals got wickedness on their tongues. Just breaking up families. They believe in breaking up families. They're going to break up families however they can. But anyways, you guys, Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I just wanted to kind of touch on that. The beginning of this video, shout out to Carlton Dennis for doing that breakdown comparison of the Trump and Harris tax plans. I think that was a very informative video. Check it out. I'll actually try to link it in this live stream afterwards because it's a great video to just kind of look if you have more of an economic concern with your voting decision. Great video to watch. We gonna pray for these liberal female demons who are canceling their husbands' votes and possibly even going towards divorcing them because they are Trump supporters. Weirdness, weirdness, weirdness. Anyways, you guys, you said thank you so much for tuning in. You said you're gonna vote for not Hitler. I don't think Hitler's not on the table. I thought Hitler was dead and gone. See, JD Vance just spoke on that issue. He said, never let politics interfere with your personal relationships, that regardless of who you vote for, those relationships are more important. Amen. I agree with JD. Me and JD about the same age. Yeah, we are the same age. So, I mean, that's that over 40 American for you. We weren't indoctrinated. Thank God. We were the last rights of the old U.S. education system before they came in and infiltrated it with all that nonsense. So, if you're over 40, big ups. You got a shot at having common sense. But, anyways, you said, are you, I don't know what that typo was about. I don't know. And I'm the queen of typo, but I just can't do that. But it seems like a lot of people care about their taxes in here. They care about their taxes. They care about their taxes. This dude said, Whoopi Goldberg, what the fuck? Okay, gone somewhere. Now you blocked. Now you ain't even got to be asking that question. Passionately ignorant people. Some of these people look at black people and they automatically assume that a certain dialogue is going to come out of our mouths. And then when they come over here, right, they're just like, why are you talking like that? You know, you're not supposed to be articulating like that. And it's like, guess what? Your U.S. education system failed, right? It failed. It didn't indoctrinate me into being stupid. You know what is a good book to read? John Taylor Gatto. Anybody ever hear of John Taylor Gatto? John Taylor Gatto wrote a book about the U.S. education system called Dumbing Us Down. And he starts the book off by saying that he talks about his credentials. He said, and they call me a teacher. He said, but you know what my job really is? It's to teach confusion. That is a great book. John Taylor Gatto, Dumbing Us Down. If you really want to understand the just prison system, really, that is the U.S. education system, read that book. I had it. I'm writing a book myself that I'm almost done. I'm literally stuck on the last chapter of my book and I have zero motivation to write it. You know how you go the distance like for years writing something, you get to the end and for some reason you just don't want to finish it. That's kind of where I'm at. But I reference John Taylor Gatto in my book. And just kind of talking about the psychological manipulations and the layers of the psychological manipulations of the mind. And so my book is an exploration of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I actually kind of contrast his theory of human motivation to that of African Americans. And I argue at different levels, why many arguments about Black people are unfair. And I actually explore some of the root causes of those ideas and even the idealisms that Black people hold and even others outside of the Black space. But I talk about Gatto in my book because there's just two layers of thinking that impacts the Black mind. Is the generational rhetoric, and then it's the critical theories. And so generational rhetoric is coming from the home in itself, the first foundation of the individual. And then the critical theories are coming from those secondary institutions like the educational system. And really, what these two things are doing is reinforcing mindsets that keeps the individual marginalized. So I will get myself to finish this book. And if you're kind of interested in sort of looking at people from a broad psychological standpoint, you may be interested in copying it. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you to those who tuned in. What do you say, Camel Tobacco Heroes? You know you need to stop. You said, did she promise Beyonce was going to perform? Wait a minute, let me go back. He said, voting brings, somebody just said, I think what Kamala Harris did yesterday to fill that rally promising a Beyonce performance was wrong. Did she promise a Beyonce performance or did she promise a Beyonce appearance? Because those aren't the same things, you know? A performance and an appearance are not the same thing. So, anyways, you guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Beyonce did look good. You go, girl. You go, girl. All right? You go, girl. And Beyonce was smart as hell. I don't care what you think about Beyonce. I'm not a huge Beyonce fan. I think she's a beautiful woman. But I will say that she looked good. Kelly Rowland looking like a Oompa Loompa from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't know what they did with Kelly, but Kelly did what she needed to do for herself because we definitely talking about that ugly ass suit that she was wearing yesterday for Kamala. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful day and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.